Hi there, this is Linda and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. Today I'm going to be flipping through my completed 2026 Week in the Life album. I'm so excited to have this done. Let's go ahead and dive right in. Okay, you guys, I cannot believe I got my Week in the Life album put together 1 week after the documenting week. This is by far the fastest I've ever put together a Week in the Life album, and I'm so proud of myself for that. I was a little worried this year that with the timing, I like to do Week in the Life with the community, but I am traveling in early June and I wanted to make sure I could finish this album before then, so I did keep my formula a little bit simpler this year to make sure that documenting was going to be feasible prior to leaving for my vacation. So if you are new to Week in the Life, just before we dive into the album, this is a documenting project from Ali Edwards where we document a week in our life in extreme detail, just kind of focusing on the everyday life. I have participated in this project every year since 2015. So this is my 12th year doing this project. I documented, as you can tell, in a 10x8 album. I have done a 6x8. I've done a photo book. I've done, what else? I did the journal. I've done a lot of different formats, and I do have a Week in the Life playlist here where you can see flip throughs of a lot of my previous albums and some process videos and all sorts of Week in the Life content. So I will link that in the description box below also if you are interested in learning more about or seeing more from me about Week in the Life. So for this year, I worked with primarily the Ali Edwards collection for 2026, and I stuck to a formula to keep this super simple. I have a separate video where I set up my plan for this project, and I will again link that in the description box below if you want to go ahead and see that. I started this out super simple with this one little Week in the Life 2026 3x4 card on top of a transparency. This year there were not any transparencies in the collection, so I took the opportunity to use some from my stash. I was a little disappointed to not see them in the collection. I hope that they come back next year because I always love the days of the week transparencies. I do have the ones from 2025 still. I didn't use them because I did use the journal that year, but they were very stylized to match that collection and they just didn't coordinate, so I decided to do this instead. I had 8 in my collection, so I chose one to put here. I had originally considered putting an extra photo there, but I never did, and that's okay. I started with a full page photo of my house. I originally also thought I was maybe going to embellish this somehow, but I decided not to. With this overlay on here, I feel like gave it enough like going on, and this is also kind of chunky, so I don't want to add too much more to it, but I like having just a picture of my house as a starting place. If you're unfamiliar with me or my family, I am an empty nester. I live with my cat and my boyfriend. My boyfriend does not like to be shared on the internet, so any photos of him in here are going to be covered up, and there's actually not that many because he also isn't a huge fan of the photos, kind of like unposed photos. I can't think of the word right now. So there are some glimpses of him or pictures of things that do kind of show that he is present, but there's not a ton, and that's okay. This is a documenting of my week in my life, and that's what I have here. So here's my opening page. I actually really love how this one came out. I decided to do a reason why page this year, and I don't do that every year. I've only done it a couple of times in the past, and I went back and read some of those and looked in some of my older albums before doing this one, but I wrote this out, and I'm going to share a photo of this, or I might have already shared a photo of this over on Instagram, so you can definitely head over there if you want to read it or you can pause the video. This was in the, there's a photography mini kit this year, which I absolutely loved, and I used a lot of, and there was this 6x8 vellum piece with these photo strips. I took these alphas that I had in my stash from an older release from Ali Edwards, and I pulled a couple of my photos from each day on here. So I have 2 from Monday, Tuesday, Saturday, and Sunday, and 1 from Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And that kind of gave me an opportunity to add a few additional photos in and just have an introduction to the week. And I absolutely love this. I think this is my favorite page in here. Then we go into my daily formula. So I start each day with a divided or a transparency. And then I put on here the day of the week Big Alpha on top of a vellum circle that's punched to 3.5 inches with one of the labels with the date stamp on there. I stitched this down, and this is something I did as part of my setup. And then on the back, I punched a circle photo of something from the day that was circular. In most days, sometimes it wasn't actually circular. I just punched it into a circle, but I had a lot of fun looking for images or things that were circular. That is something that I have done in the past in this project, and I find it to be super fun. So here we have a photo of our salad. We had panzanella salad for dinner, and it was in this big brown bowl. So I really like how that turned out. Then I start each day with a hero photo. This is my absolute favorite photo that I took this entire Week in the Life project this year. I take a lot of photos with me in them during Week in the Life, which is something that I forget to do most of the time. So I do get a lot of photos during this project that I use in other projects. This is me sitting out on my porch. I have my laptop because I was working from home, and I took my cat out there to get some sun and just spend some time outdoors. He is an indoor only cat, but he does really enjoy the sunshine. And we've had some voles in our yard, so I wanted him out there to kind of scare them off. So it's kind of a win-win. And I don't trust him going out without a leash because of cars and dangers and stuff, but I do bring him out so he can get that kind of enrichment. He's getting older, so he's a little lazy in the house, and this does give him some exercise. I started each day using a little assortment of embellishments here. I stamped the day of the week from an Ali Edwards stamp set. I think it was maybe from the Week in the Life collection last year. This was in the photo mini kit and just created this little embellishment cluster. As I go through this, so how I do my project, I did my initial setup video. In my previous video, I sketched out kind of my plan for each day. But then when putting the album together, I did all of Monday first to get a feel to make sure everything worked and I liked the flow. And then I went through and used kind of an assembly line fashion to put the rest of the days together. And that really makes this project so much more manageable for me. Then we move into this page here where I have a large photo. And then I used the 4x10 strip of tag paper. I cut it down to go vertically in here, and this is definitely what you could do if you were using a 6x8 album and you had that paper. I just didn't want to do the horizontal because I didn't want to have to focus on finding a large horizontal photo, and I felt like this, because this tag was horizontal, I wanted to use it. So I set these up with these two tags in here. I added a chipboard on here depending on whether or not the photos were more morning or evening focused. There were a morning and evening chipboard in the collection. Then for these tags here, I added some photos and I die cut them using the tag die cut that was in the collection. I don't use the wafer thin dies, or I don't really use dies that often, but I did pull out my Cuttlebug and I die cut these, and it was actually pretty fun. So I'm excited that I did that, and maybe I want to do that in some more projects. Then I have a 2x2 page protector, and this was a way for me to include a lot more photos. I also had the add-on of the plastic squares, so I put those in a lot of these. And you can see I added some embellishments. This one here was from the photography mini kit. Almost everything in here is from the Week in the Life collection this year. There are some other things that I added in, but I tried to kind of start with that and then pull a few other things from my stash to keep the process super simple. So on the back, again, I have more photos. I have more die cut pieces, and just adding in a few little embellishments here and there. Then I did a long journaling page. This I typed up, and I typed these on the actual days themselves. I think a few of them I had to add to like the next day or, maybe a couple days later, but I tried to do it during the day itself so that all I had to do when I was putting my album together was just kind of proofread it and then print. And it also served as a way to kind of remember what happened, so I didn't have to document in too many places. One of the things that I like to do to simplify the process is you do have to kind of write down stuff and take photos as you're going, and then you have to translate that into an album. anytime that you can do it where you don't have to have those two separate steps, you're saving a lot of time. So you could either write down quick notes during the week and then do your journaling later, and then you're doing two separate things. Or if you can do your journaling during the week, you're only doing that once. And although it might take a little more time during the documenting week, it does save you time overall. So it really depends on whether or not you have the capacity to do that. I used an Alpha stamp set from Ali Edwards here and then added the day of the week and the date stamp on here, as well as a little puffy star. And then this page protector I created by just stitching it through my sewing machine here. And then I added the in the season card. So in the season card just had 3 spots. In the past, I've used these 3x8 cards to do like breakfast, lunch, dinner. I've done just like morning, afternoon, evening. This time I decided to do 3 prompts and I selected in the morning. So mostly just my coffee on my desk and in the yard. And I just selected a photo from each of those themes during the day and put those in here. And then I typed these up on the computer the same style that I did this, and just printed those out and made my own little word phrase strips for each one during the week. On the back of that, so the collection this year, the main kit came with these circle die cut inserts, and there have been circular inserts like this in the last few collections, so that's not new. But this year they all had some sort of like icon on it. Most of them were kitchen themed. And I know I heard a lot of people were kind of confused with what to do with those, unsure how to use them. I decided to use them as a prompt of what I wanted to include in my album. So they did work really well for my life. And I know a lot of people maybe don't use these things, but I do spend a lot of time in the kitchen. So most of the prompts from these, I was able to find something that fit them for 6 of the 7 days. And the 7th day, I just kind of let it go. And you'll see that when we get there. But the first one I did has these like mixers on it, and I bake scones pretty regularly. We have them for breakfast every day. So I decided to do a micro story each day that was not necessarily themed with that day, but something that's about life right now. So the first one, and they were prompted by these. So the first one was about baking scones. So on the back, I have a large photo, and I created this same formula, and you'll see it repeated in every day. And then I used this small stamp set that was from Ali Edwards. I think that was not necessarily with The Week in Life. I think it was a recent just release. I love mini stamp. I love alpha stamps in general, but that one is just, I like having smaller ones. This was from the photography mini kit. And then I just did some journaling around that theme. I added the currently chipboard and the date again and called that spread good. On the back, I did a daily photo in my mirror of what I wore. This is something I've done in the past. This is one where I did change up how I did it after Monday. I had originally cut this to the full half circle, and then on the back of the tab, just added some washi. I decided I didn't like that, and in the later days, I just have my photo go the whole thing. There were some stickers. Let me see if I can find one like this in the collection that had words on them, but there were some blank ones. So I pulled a stamp set out of my stash that said wearing and stamped one that went for each day. Then I used the divided page protector that has the 4x4 and 4x6 pockets. And this one I did switch up a little bit for each day. Most of the pockets are the same, but sometimes I put a 4x6 photo, sometimes a 3x4 photo. And when I had an extra spot, I pulled something out of my stash, which was something I really wanted to use. And then I also am adding chipboard in from my stash. This was from the photography mini kit. And then these cards were in the main kit. So I used these to just kind of stamp something that happened each day and just kind of some highlights from the day. So on Monday, it was new washi from the Coffee Monster Co. and the grilled panzanello that we had for dinner. Absolutely love that meal. On the back, this was also in the photography mini kit, and this is, I think, one of my favorite pieces of this collection, of how I used it, were these like photo strips. And I just decided to do kind of a series of photos every day around some certain theme, and then added the day of the week sticker in there. One thing that bothered me, these day of the week stickers did not have the colors that coordinated with that day, which was a little frustrating, but I just went with it. And here you can see I'm pulling in other things from my stash. And so this was just pumpkin on the front porch. I created my own filler card here with some of the pieces of the collection. And then here I used the 1-2 card to do a story about work and a story about play each day. And so I had a lot of fun with that. Then I created my own layered template in Photoshop, and I used the so I used the letter from that day. So these are the same ones from the beginning here. I used the digital version here, and then I also had some words that were the digital version from Ali Edwards from an older Week in the Life. I don't actually know which one. And so I did that on each day and then created a layered template to hold a lot of my additional photos. On Monday and Saturday, I had too many photos, so I wasn't able to get them all in my album. And then on Thursday and Friday, I didn't have enough photos, so I pulled some from those other days that could have been taken on any day and just moved them around, and that's totally okay. And this way I was able to kind of make the whole spread work for every single day using the same formula. Then I finished out the day with another full page photo, and I added the gratitude piece on here. It's just like this vellum pocket. I adhered it with red line tape. And then I again used that small stamp to stamp 3 things I was grateful for from the day and just do a little journaling, and then added the day of the week on there. I wasn't thrilled that this was gratitudes and this was also let's give thanks. So sometimes I struggle to come up with like multiple things, but I also kind of like that prompt because part of this project is just being grateful for our everyday life and enjoying that. So that's kind of what I was doing with that. Okay, so let's move into Tuesday. The next few days, you'll see it's the same formula, so I don't necessarily have as much to say, but I will still flip you through and show you kind of where things were the same and where they were different. Because I am an empty nester and my boyfriend also doesn't want to be in large photos in here, I struggled with what to do with my large photos always. So I know other people have that same struggle. So I just did some simple things. Here is just a photo of me taking a picture of this poster I have at the top of my stairs with my reflection in it. And I just really I like that sentiment. I like the reminder that this is what's on my wall. We recently got the house painted, so I like that you can see that here. I like that you can see my reflection and the light, and it's simple, but it's fun, and I like having that really big. Here's another one I did that was really big. I really love this. I have this really fun wall in my laundry room, and whenever I remember to take a photo in front of it, I just love the color and how it comes out, so I wanted to highlight my afternoon coffee. And then here are my 2x2 pockets for this day. You can see I'm pulling in stickers and like little things from my stash in different places. Sometimes I did more than others, just depending on how I was feeling as I was working on that page. Here we have in the morning on my desk and in the yard. On Tuesdays, I'm in the office, so that's why you can see my cubicle here. I work in, I'm a tax attorney, and everything I do at work is super confidential. So I can't really take many photos at work. I'm able to take a couple of my desk like this. Like I was able to I positioned things strategically so you can't see anything except me, my calendar, and then this like map I have on the wall of like the Internal Revenue Code. It's like a flow chart. And so you can't see anything. And I just took a couple photos like that during the week. I also took photos like this where you can see my lunch. And I made sure to minimize everything on my screen so all you can see is my background, which is my daughter. Again, here I have that in the morning for my breakfast. And even though normally my computer screen will have my email up, obviously I'm not going to take that photo. But that way I'm able to kind of include my work in here. For the meals here, this one was a big pot. So I use that to tell the story about how I cooked dinner. I made spaghetti on this day, which does use a really big pot, which is why I wanted to pair this with this day. And I just have a photo of me making dinner here, and then this photo of me cooking and Pumpkin waiting patiently because he can smell that meat is cooking. And again, I'm following the same formula where I stamped this today on here and then added a strip of washi tape that matched. I also added washi here because I just had less journaling on this day, and you'll see that on a couple of the days. My outfit, and then a few photos. Here I added another filler card because I put a 3x4. This is what I was thankful for today was my rewatching Grey's Anatomy and my TWSBI Eco pen. For my series photo here, I took photos of me getting ready for bed. So I'm like washing my face, brushing my teeth, taking out my contacts, and then I have my face wash and my eye cream there. And I just wanted to have that photo with where you could also see the bathroom, because I have photos similar to this in a previous week in the life before I redid my bathroom when it's just plain white. And so it's nice to see that. I know they're super small, so you can't really see what I'm doing in a lot of them, but I still like it for the overall effect. I had a dentist appointment this day, so I have like that photo. And then like in the 2x2 photos, I have like my feet while I was getting my Cledia in the waiting room. I did not intentionally book a dentist appointment, and I also have a hair appointment during this week, and it's just what happened. I think I had the dentist appointment booked well before I knew this was the Week in the Life week. And then my gratitudes, I took a photo of myself at my desk doing some journaling, watching Grey's Anatomy, my coffee, and I just like these photos of myself that I'm able to take. I use my Apple Watch as a timer to control my camera on my iPhone. All of my photos in here are taken with my iPhone, and that way you're able to see like a preview of the image on your watch, so you can kind of position it how you want. And then it has like a countdown, I think of like 3 seconds after you push the thing to take the photo. So I just, continued doing what I was doing, just went back to writing and let the photos take. I like that you get like the blurry stuff in the foreground of what's on my desk. And I really enjoy taking that type of photo in Week in the Life. For my gratitudes, I have that I had an early afternoon off work, my lattes, and then text with my friends. Okay, moving into Wednesday. So Wednesday, the main color is red. I don't know who picked the colors for Week in the Life. I like the products this year, but Allie, if you're listening, the color choices were a little questionable. I don't love that like the pink and the red were next to each other. Also, I know Allie knew that there was a mistake that some of these letters didn't match, and I just went with it. That was okay. But I would prefer the colors to be a little bit different in the future. I feel like the Thursday and the Sunday were too similar to each other. And I don't know, some of the choices were a little strange. I did really like the pink and the blue and the yellow, but I don't know. I just wasn't thrilled with the colors this year. But otherwise, I really liked the collection. I loved all the camera stuff. So here's what I have for my main photo for Wednesday. Oh, my circle here is the French fries that we made for dinner. And here is Pumpkin on the couch, and we're watching baseball. And then here is Pumpkin laying on the bed I think this one is actually the morning, but these photos are from the evening, so I did evening. Pumpkin likes to sit here and look out the window a lot, so I have that and me cutting. Okay, sorry, I got a phone call. So here is my going into my 2x2s for Wednesday. On Wednesday, I had a hair appointment. And again, I was in the office, so similar photo here. But again, I didn't really take a lot of photos at work. Here's a photo of the floor in the bathroom. Just like not a lot of photos, just enough to acknowledge that I am at work. We're doing yoga, which we do almost every day. Making dinner. And then here's my journaling for Wednesday. For this, I did all of the stamping for all the days at the same time, and I kind of forgot that Wednesday is much longer, so I should have started over a little bit, but it did fit, so I didn't redo it. My morning is my coffee at my desk. This, again, is in my office at work. The yard, I just ended up with a photo of my house as I'm walking, and then on my desk, I didn't actually have another photo on my desk other than like my lunch here. So what I did was this one of my desk at home while I was getting ready in the morning watching Amy L. Okay, so then this one has these like canisters. So I use that to talk about my coffee nook in my kitchen. I recently got a new espresso machine. I make myself a latte every morning and sometimes additional lattes throughout the day. So I'm really into coffee. And so I love this little nook in my kitchen. So I decided to journal about that. And it has these like canisters here, which is part of like the decor that I really, really love. So I had a lot of fun telling this story. My outfit of the day. And then my new hair, so I had my appointment. So this I took in the morning. I actually really love this photo of myself, but this was before I got my hair done. And then here's my hair afterwards. My roots are just growing out there. But it's funny because it doesn't look as blonde here, but it was just the lighting. I really liked having this photo though, because this is taken in the half bath in my house, which is undecorated. Those of you who don't know, I built my house in 2020. I actually closed on my house during Week in the Life in 2020, which is super fun to look back on that album. But I have slowly been decorating the whole house, and the half bath is next on our list to get decorated. So it's fun to see it pre-decoration. I like looking back on my old Week in the Life albums and see the rooms before they were decorated, and then now seeing that they are decorated. So it's super fun to see that distinction. Here, my series were some photos of Pumpkin on the couch in the evening, my layered template, and then another photo of Pumpkin on the couch sleeping. My gratitudes for Wednesday were the nice weather, my boyfriend, and my cat. Okay, moving into Thursday. This was the day I had the least number of photos. I think I was just kind of like not super excited. I'd been taking photos for 3 days solid. I wasn't super excited about the project at this point. I was pretty tired because it was a busy week and not a lot happened on Thursday. This photo I took of Pumpkin, I actually took on Monday, but it could have happened on Thursday, so I decided to use it here. Here's a photo of my pan making dinner. And then me at my desk watching basketball in the bedroom in the evening, and Pumpkin drinking out of the sink. I really like this photo of Pumpkin. He is always laying here in the sunshine. There wasn't a ton of sun this day, but it's still super cute to see him there. And you can see I have various photos from that throughout the day. I added in some ephemera in a couple of the days when I didn't have as many photos. And here I didn't have a photo there, so I just added one of the chipboard pieces. There were also these 2x2 cards in one of the kits. I can't remember which one. And so I added those to some of them as needed if I didn't have enough photos. Here's a Thursday. I like seeing that on my desk is my journal. And then even though I did work this day, that was just one of the photos I took was when I did some journaling. And then me watering the plants in the yard. For my story here, this was a mixing bowl. So I used it to talk about making myself cookie dough as a snack, which was super fun. Something I'm super loving right now. So it was a good story to tell. And just talking about snacks in general and how I snack and make cookie dough. My outfit, because I'm working from home, is more loungewear. I didn't do makeup or anything, so I just covered my face with my phone. Totally fine. Here, another 3x4 photo. This one I think was not taken from this day. It's just a picture from my bathroom, but it was a good filler to add in here with this card. When I had to add a 3x4 card in here, I was trying to pull something from my stash that coordinated, and this one just went so perfectly. I love it. I love the opportunity to use up stash products, and this album, I use so many products I'm so thrilled with. Having breakfast together and then doing my planning in the morning. My series here were watering the plants. I didn't have quite enough photos, so I just added a chipboard in that last one. My layered template, you can see I had less photos this day, so I just added less spots. And then this was probably my favorite photo from this day. I'm eating my lunch at the kitchen island while working. Obviously, I can't take photos of my computer, but because I can take a photo of the back of the laptop, I think that worked really well. And because I'm not in the office, you know, there's nothing secret behind me. My gratitudes were having a day of rest, kind of just being at home rather than in the office, journaling and yoga. Okay, moving into Friday. Again, the colors didn't match, but I just went with it. This photo I took while I was stopped for a school bus on the way to work. And I thought it was fun. It wasn't necessarily something that needed to be blown up, but it was a good photo from the day. It was a horizontal photo. It was different. So I just went with it. I don't want to overthink the large photos because I probably don't have that many photos that are worth being a 10 by 8, but that worked out well. Here's kind of was my view while I'm working and putting the tags here. I have some 2 by 2 pockets. Again, I'm kind of gonna speed up because I feel like this video is getting kind of long. For this one, there were some silverware, so I used that to document our planning for meals. Here I had more photos, so I just didn't add an extra card. Less photos, so larger photos on that. And then this adorable photo of Pumpkin, my gratitudes being my bed, my headache pills, and sushi. Okay, now Saturday. So again, the letter was messed up, but it matches the day before, so it actually doesn't bother me. It helps me flow into Saturday. And then on here, this one wasn't a circular photo, it's just a photo of me and Pumpkin, but I really liked it, and I liked it in that shape, so I just felt like it was nice there. Here's my intro to Saturday. Okay, so Saturday, I had a lot of photos because we ran errands, and it was just a different day from the rest of the week. So by like Thursday and Friday, I was kind of bored with the like, I go to work. What else can I take photos of? But on the weekend, it's a little different. So I did take a lot of photos again. So I have this large one of the shopping cart in Trader Joe's. And then I took some other photos in the grocery store. I baked scones again. And so I have a lot of photos here. The color for Saturday was yellow, which I really liked, the yellow. Here, instead of adding a photo, I added some ephemera, a sticker from Trader Joe's. And here's my journaling, my morning desk and yard. It was super rainy on Saturday, so I have a rainy photo. And then for Saturday, this was the one that wasn't kitchen themed. It was scissors, which I guess could be kitchen themed, but I used it to talk about crafting. So I have a photo of me scrapbooking here. I'm actually working on this project, which this is the first time I've ever done that, where I started working on the project during the project, but it was actually super nice to do that. And then I was able to document part of the process. It was kind of circular, but I really like it. I'm watching Grey's Anatomy up there. And then here's a photo of me working on the computer, doing some of the typed journaling and then stamping. At this point, I think I was working on putting Monday together. And then I just journaled about paper crafts, my outfit for Saturday. And then for here, for the photos, I decided to do a photo of the inside of the fridge before we went grocery shopping, and then after, with all of the groceries in there. And then for the series for Saturday, I did baking scones. So I have like some in the mixer, and then I have them like putting them on the cookie sheet, them in the oven, and then putting the glaze on at the end. A photo of strawberries in the grocery store, my layered template. For the layered template, I use the same one every day, but I moved stuff around so that this would be in a different spot. So I just kind of like shifted things a little bit and could resize some of them if I needed to add more boxes or take some away. And then to end Saturday, I have this photo of Pumpkin looking out the window at the rain. And then for the gratitudes, although I liked the yellow, some of it wasn't like super bright on there, but it says craft time, cross stitch, and strawberries. And then wrapping up the week with Sunday. This time the S did match. I have my coffee here. Again, not really a circular photo, but it works really well. And then starting the day with a picture of Pumpkin sleeping in the reading room. And then here is a photo of me journaling, watching Grey's Anatomy. And so I did morning photos. When I wanted to just do a little bit of like filler stuff in Week in the Life, especially, like I like to just not only take pictures of my week, but also of just like random pieces of my house and stuff like that, because it changes. And so here's a picture of the shelf in the bathroom. Just like picking up the little decor and stuff, because those things do change over time, and this is just a reminder for me to document them. When I didn't have enough photos and cards to fill these in, I used some of these 2x2 squares with sentiments, and then I also cropped some of the pattern paper to fill them in. And that photo is sideways. Well, I'm going to fix that right now. It's Pumpkin eating a treat. And then here is my journaling about the day. Rained again, so a photo of me outside after the rain was over. Crafting, so I filmed a process video for Project Life during Sunday. So what I did was I just took a screenshot in the middle of my video. I meant to do more than that, and I totally forgot after the very beginning, but that worked out. And then I have my coffee. And then this was the one that I didn't have anything to go with. It was the teapot, and I actually do drink tea. And we used to have an evening routine of drinking tea in the evenings and during like the colder months, and we just kind of have fallen off as it's gotten warmer and just for a few other reasons. And I actually wanted to do it again this week, partially to use this and to talk about that routine, but I completely forgot on Sunday, so we didn't do it. But I did take a photo of doing the dishes, so I decided to just kind of talk about our evening routine. And the teapot is kind of reminiscent of when we had tea as part of our evenings, even though it's not right now. And then here's my outfit for the day, the rainy day, laundry, my desk. Sunday was really a relaxing day at home, a lot of crafting and stuff. And I didn't take a ton of photos, but I did take some throughout the day, so I was able to fill things in. Pumpkin had this snack at the end of the day, and I got a series of photos of him eating that. And then, again, I didn't have that many photos here, so I just deleted a lot of the boxes and made the ones that were still there bigger. And then ending off the week with my Sunday gratitudes for sleeping in, having a 3-day weekend because it was Memorial Day weekend, and then this project. And then I just finished it off with a photo of my craft desk with my cookie dough and my journal for the day. And I had made this bingo board, so this is in my journal. This was inspired by Amy, y'all. I just added a tip in here. And this way I checked off all of the things as I finished my album. And now I'll check off all done as I finished filming the video here. And there we go. My week in the life project is completed. Thank you guys so much for being here. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. And as always, I hope to see you guys all in the next one. Bye.